What's good everyone, OJ here, welcome back to another video. Today, we're going over 10 exciting new features in Fire Emblem Engage on the Nintendo Switch. But before we get into that, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get all of my Fire Emblem Engage, Nintendo Switch, and RPG videos first. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into it, and we're starting off at number 10, and that is a focused story path. Now for those who are new to Fire Emblem, that might be something that you're just used to. These all had split story paths where like you can buy one game, like Fire Emblem Fates, there's Conquest and Birthright, then Revelations, or if it's Fire Emblem Three Houses, and then you have the three different paths there, Blue Lions, Golden Deer, Black Eagles, but this time, they're scrapping all of that and they're heading back to how Fire Emblem has usually been in the past, especially with Fire Emblem Awakening, and that is a focused single story path. Now, some of you guys might be thinking that's not quite as good because it's less, but at the same time, I feel that a focused story has made, or at least consisted of some of the best stories in the Fire Emblem universe. Fire Emblem Awakening, for example, Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, some of the older school Fire Emblem games. So I feel that a focused story path can really bring about them doing some incredible things from gameplay and also story setup perspective, just like Fire Emblem Awakening had that. So it can really hit you in that certain type of way when there's one way that they want to tell this story, so fans can all experience that. Whereas obviously if you have multiple separate paths, fans are going to get different impressions of what the story is based on if they pick, because most people aren't going to go through that many times with different games or with different paths. So I do feel that a focused single story path is good for this style of game that they're trying to tell and the gameplay with it. So I think this is a positive in this game's case. Next up at number 9 is character customization. One of the cool things about Fire Emblem Engage is that each character has a full customization suite of cosmetics. You can have different glasses, you can have different outfits, you can have different stuff that they wear, and it's not based off of their war outfits or what they wear when they go out to fight. Now, I'm pretty sure that's an option, but this one is when they're in the Somniel home branch and some of the stuff that you can do just hanging out around there, which is also another cool and incredible feature of Fire Emblem Engage. But it has full customization to where you can kind of pick and choose and buy new outfits, and more stuff will become available. So I think that's pretty cool that every character can be customized in that way and kind of add your own little touch to each character in the game. Next up at number 8, Bond Rings and customization. Now, this is one of the things that's really cool about Fire Emblem Engage, and something else we're going to get into in just a bit. But with the Emblem Rings in the game, you will also have a Bond Ring system. So in this Bond Ring system, you're going to be able to collect fragments when you're out on missions, also when you get them for rewards. And with those fragments, you're going to be able to fuse them together and upgrade your Emblem Rings in the game. So with that type of customization, with the type of fragments that you can get, you can create some super powerful customization options out there that you're absolutely going to need if you're going to want to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, or if you just want a little bit of a boost. And the coolest thing with these Bond Fragment Rings is that they're actually based off of previous support characters in Fire Emblem games. So based off of how that character was or how that character is, that's what stat it's going to help out. So it's a little bit of history mixed in with a good, dope customization system for boosting your power and boosting what you can do in the game. So I love when games do stuff like this. All right, moving on to number 7, and that is amiibo support. So amiibo support is really cool in Fire Emblem Engage because it gives you, based on the amiibo, the music corresponding to that character, the old school music, and it also gives you the outfit that they wear in the game. So it's pretty cool to have that 1-2 punch and some actual meaningful amiibo support in games. Now, there has been some good stuff over the years with Fire Emblem and also with previous Nintendo games. This is probably the coolest amiibo support that I've seen recently with Nintendo, at least for anything that I'm interested in. So I love what they're doing with the amiibo support in the game, and I think that it's really going to add another layer and dimension for old school fans out there looking to have a nostalgia trip, but also looking to customize their character a little bit more with some extra options for what they wear. Number 6, vastly improved graphics. Now, this is something that is once a feature and then also two based off of direction of what they were trying to do. Now, one of the biggest problems that Fire Emblem has had in terms from a visual perspective is that since the Nintendo 3DS or so, and maybe even a little bit before that based on how you feel about things, Fire Emblem has always been one of those games that is really focused on the gameplay. The graphics and the look of the game has always been secondary or thirdary, if that's even a thing. It hasn't been the focus of the game at all, and it's produced some mixed results in terms of what people visually see in the game, or maybe even how they're interested in it. Now, art is one whole other thing, but I think that based on how this game looks, this is much better from a technical perspective from what we've seen, and also from a graphical perspective in terms of how it runs and how it looks. It's much better than what we got with Fire Emblem Three Houses, and the best that Fire Emblem has ever looked. And I've played every single Fire Emblem game, obviously dating all the way back to the old school ones with Marth and the original and everything. And by far, this is the cleanest and best looking and running Fire Emblem game that I have seen. So I'm very happy that they were able to actually make those improvements, because that was the big issue with Fire Emblem Three Houses, that the game was awesome from a gameplay standpoint, but so many people were like, man, this game just looks terrible when it comes to the environments. The character models weren't bad. It wasn't bad, but the environments was just really bad looking, kind of stuck out considering how awesome some of the character models look and how impressive some of the displays was, like when you did like different types of magic attacks. But now to have that balanced out to the point to where it looks very clean and polished and the environments look great, it finally matches up to the gameplay, in my opinion, because the gameplay looks great, but now also the game itself looks fantastic as well. It's absolutely better than what we've gotten before. So I love the fact that they vastly improved the graphics, and it's easily one of the better new additions and features to the game. Number 5, the Overworld Map. Now this is a fan favorite brought back from my favorite Fire Emblem game of all time, and that is Fire Emblem Awakening. And they've had overworld maps before, but this one is absolutely based off of what was in Fire Emblem Awakening, and it's even better because they give you more information and a little bit more details and what's going on with that chapter or with that area that you're playing. I've always been a big fan of when Fire Emblem games do extra little things to kind of spice it up in between chapters or in between gameplay, whether that's adding the hub base Somnia, which we've discussed before on this channel, or it's adding in stuff like explorable dungeons in Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. So I feel that them adding back in the world map, which Fire Emblem Three Houses didn't have one, is such a great addition, and it adds far more of a personal touch to the game. When you see that little avatar running across and going and picking on different chapters, it just feels like it's more of an exploration and a game to where you have that control over them just saying, okay, you're just jumping into a chapter and that's that. So I love this addition, and I really hope that going forward in the future, they add more to the overworld map in terms of what you can do, and also just have them in general. Number 4, quality of life options. This is something that's big when it comes to RPGs. I think that for some people, if the quality of life options aren't enough, then that can really make them hate an RPG based on how hard it is to navigate or to do certain things. Well, you don't have to worry about that with Fire Emblem Engage, because every single little thing that might have been an issue in previous ones with customization with the UI or with certain things has been fixed from what I've seen, especially on the battle front. Being able to have that nice little slick pop-up when you're about to fight someone, you're able to see what the character can do in terms of their hit rate and their power and their weapon. All of that pops up, so you don't have to go into multiple options and go into another menu and look through that. It pops up, it makes it fast, snappier, makes it good, and that makes the gameplay better. So the quality of life options immediately impacts how good the game can play and what you're doing in the midst of a battle and how you fight effectively in Fire Emblem. And the combat is key. The combat is such the lifeblood of a Fire Emblem game. Making all of these little quality of life tweaks to the game is going to pay big dividends when you're playing on the harder difficulties, or when you really need to understand what is going on in the battle and what characters you have, because there's always this period, at least for me in Fire Emblem games, where they start adding so many characters that you get a little bit overwhelmed and you forget who can do what, when, and where, and how. And with these options now, it's going to be a thing of the past. So Very cool to see them add this, and absolutely one of the best new additions to Fire Emblem Engage. Number 3, active mini games. Now, Fire Emblem titles have always had mini games. Mini games are always something that you might see, various different things. We had fishing, we've had other ones before, but these ones are actually active. And what I mean by that is that you play them. So there is a mini game, for example, where you're going to be doing push-ups and you have to press a button to get the quality of the push-ups. There's a mini game where you're doing squats and you have to press different directions in order to get the squat correct. There's a mini game where you're flying on a dragon and you're shooting different things. These are all active mini games that really just help flesh out the overall experience and just add to the gameplay of this. And they all give you benefits from what we see here. You can participate in those mini games. It's completely optional and you'll get a boost for the next mission, or you might be able to find some secrets in the mini game with the dragon flying and shooting, almost like a Panzer Dragoon type of thing. These are the type of things to me that just make a game pure fun. It just makes a game more fun to play. It just makes it more jovial, just makes it more sleek when you have this type of stuff. And the last Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Three Houses, did have a fishing mini game, but it didn't really have anything else. It had a lot of other stuff that was more like growing different crops or different things, more of like the menu type of stuff where you have to go through and sort through menus and do tasks or things like that. You know, to me, that can be fun, but it's far more fun to actually have active mini games where you're doing things for extra benefits, in addition to having some of the other stuff that you would expect in a Fire Emblem game, like talking to different various characters and getting to know them that way. So to me, this is easily one of the best new features added in and absolutely deserves the number 3 spot on the list. Next up at number 2, and that is the Tower of Trials and online co-op. So this is something that is a big addition for a mainline Fire Emblem game. They have finally brought back the online co-op, and what you're going to be able to do in this is that you're going to be able to have these trials that you can go through, and in these trials you can make your own maps, you can make your own stuff, you can share them with your friends, you can download theirs, but then there's also going to be online co-op to where you can go through some of these with your friends, which is also a really cool addition, and you're going to be able to get rewards for it. So not only is it online co-op, but it's also, there's benefits to playing that online co-op that link back to the single player. Same goes with the Tower of Trials mode as well. When you do things like this, this is just better overall for the game. For those who really want to experience something different and play with their friends, it gives them that option. For those who want to ignore it, they can. For those who want to play passive and just download other people's trials and play it and get rewards, it's cool. And it adds a lot of replay value. Even if you went through the game and beaten it, you can go back to that Tower of Trials, that online co-op, and have fun, especially if some of those missions are really difficult and you want to challenge yourself and you want to use the Emblem Rings system to its fullest. So to me, this is absolutely one of the best things that they've added, and it's going to give substantial replay value in areas where obviously Fire Emblem Three Houses said, hey, we have these multiple paths, but this one is going to be a little bit more, I would say, in sync, because it's not just multiple paths and playing the same thing and kind of experience it from a different angle, but actually having a whole different mode to play with your friends or without. So to me, that is a phenomenal new feature, and I'm super happy that it made it in. Last, but definitely not least, it is the Emblem Rings themselves. Now, for those that are new or those that are just getting into Fire Emblem, this is a concept that has somewhat been around, but it's done in a completely unique and different type of way than ever before. We've been able to use past Fire Emblem heroes in games, right? We have a whole game called Fire Emblem Heroes. So there's been ways to get previous characters and add them into a current story and then go from there. But the way they've done it with Emblem Rings and how it works in this game, how it's intertwined in the core concept of a mainline console Fire Emblem game, is absolutely ingenious, because it gives you what you kind of wanted, but then makes sense from a story perspective. It gives you that aspect of Fire Emblem Heroes without all of the gotcha and weird stuff that you would see in that. And it makes it to where you can learn the history of previous Fire Emblem games, the big characters from those games, and you can get interested in them, but they also have a key portrayal in the game that doesn't sound super weird. I think that it's ingenious in terms of how they've done this. The Emblem Rings, how you upgrade them, how you get them, what you need to do, and how they're intertwined with each of the nations and what they own and what you need to do overall, is just super cool and one of the best things about the game, and I feel is one of the biggest 180s people have done from when they first revealed the game up until this point, showing how cool the Emblem Rings are, showing how you can fuse with them and you go into a super powerful state and you have different abilities and there's different stuff that ties back to the character's games as well. So it adds fan service and functionality all into one and just makes it more exciting to me, whether you're a new player or you're someone who's always been into Fire Emblem. It's just super cool. So I think that the Emblem Rings is easily the best new addition to the game, and it's going to add so much fun to where you would say usually, okay, that's pretty cool in terms of what you can do combat wise, but this adds a whole new layer that we haven't experienced before in a Fire Emblem game. So I'm very excited. It reminds me of the pair-up system that Fire Emblem Awakening did so well, but then takes it to the next level in so many different ways based on the special attacks and special moves that you can do as well. So what are your thoughts when it comes to the coolest or the most exciting new features for Fire Emblem Engage on the Nintendo Switch? Let me know in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell. We will see you for the next video. Peace.